Guys, I'm delighted to welcome to the podcast Harlan Accola. He's the National Reverse Mortgage Director for Movement Mortgage. He's also the author of a fascinating book, Home Equity and Reverse Mortgages, The Cinderella of the Baby Boomer Retirement. Harlan, welcome. Thank you for joining me. You know, when you guys with Movement Mortgage talked to me for the first time, and I heard this phrase, reverse mortgage, I admit I didn't know a whole lot about it, but I had kind of a big frown on my face, like, oh, that doesn't sound like a very good idea. And then we talked it through, and I'm like, whoa, I haven't quite thought about it this way. So can you tell people what a reverse mortgage is? And then let's talk about how something like that can actually be a very helpful tool.
Well, yeah, it's really glad to be here, Dinesh. It's really pretty simple when you think about it. You put money into your Social Security and you take it out when you get older. You put money into a 401k, an IRA, take it out when you get older. All that a reverse mortgage does is allow you to safely take money out of your house without selling it and without creating a payment. And it's obviously a payment that eventually gets paid back. You're using some of your equity just like you use money in your 401k or you use money in your IRA or your savings account, then you would have less from there. But on an overall basis, it's something that consistently over and over allows you to use it safely throughout your retirement without losing control of your house, without changing the ownership of your house, without endangering whether or not you can live in it for the rest of your life.
I mean, this to me is such a novel idea. I think we need to put this into slow motion so people can kind of see some kind of use scenarios for what we're talking about. You're talking about people who, by and large, over time, have built up a lot of equity in their house, right? They might own their house outright, or they may have some outstanding debt, but on the other hand, they've built up all this equity. And now they've reached a position in life when they're thinking about their investments, and they'd like to invest in something, but they don't have the money. Or they find that most of their money is in their house, and they're now, their normal basic lifestyle is being crimped because they don't have enough loose cash. Or they owe a tax bill, and they don't have the money to pay, and then they're saying, okay, well, we'll make you a loan at a high, confiscatory rate of interest. And what you're saying is, guess what? There are lots of people who have a considerable amount of equity in their homes, and it is rational to consider that when you have other needs for money and you've got money already there.
Yeah, once you reach close to retirement or in retirement, I'm not in retirement, but I'm over 62, so I have my own reverse mortgage. And when I got to be 62, I was part of the first group that stopped making a mortgage payment. So I no longer had to send money to my house because I had more than enough equity and I was over 62, so I qualified. And then I just stopped making a mortgage payment, which was about $3,000 a month, and started instead sending it to my investment advisor, which put me into a better situation for not only my retirement, but also my kids later because of what I was able to put into my other investment side. There's another group of people that have their houses paid off completely, and they can then use that to have some additional tax-free income, so they have a better retirement. Or if they have a lot of money in all areas, they can use it to defray their taxes by using that money to pay for Roth conversions or for being able to have a larger deduction. So whether you have a mortgage or you don't have a mortgage, it works either way by simply not concentrating so much of your wealth into a house. I mean, think about it, Dinesh, if I have $1 million in an IRA, I don't put it all in one stock. If I have $1 million, I don't want to put it all into one real estate stock called my house, or 500,000 or 200,000 or whatever my house is worth. It's a lot of concentration of wealth in one area. We simply allow people to be able to diversify that and use some of that money inside the house without risking being able to live there.
Yeah, in my experience, people spend a lot of money. I mean, not a lot of money, but they spend a lot of effort earning money and relatively little effort thinking about what to do with the money that they've earned over their lifetime, right? And so they end up, I think, somewhat carelessly in a situation where in the abstract, you might be convinced, all right, I should have about a third of my money in my house, a third in stocks, let's just say a third in safe assets, right? But the truth of it is, the way things evolve, you're making your mortgage payment. And so you suddenly take a look at your portfolio and you realize like 70% of your net worth, and I think I'm probably not far off, is in people's homes. And that may not be the most rational balance for you or for your family. I think what you're saying is, you don't have to be a victim of this inevitability, that there is this option available to you. I mean, what I like about this is that you're essentially educating people to think about this in a fresh light, right? Let's talk a little bit about, like, why do people have this negative idea of a reverse mortgage? Is it because the stereotype is you're like stripping your home of its value, you're wasting the cash, and basically your kids will get nothing? Is that what's behind the fear?
Well, that's without a question a big part of it. But in my book, one of my chapters is drugs, sex, and reverse mortgages, and for some reason, people turn to that right away. But
excellent title.
Drugs can be a great thing; it can save your life, or drugs you can overdose and die. Sex can obviously be good or evil. So can reverse mortgages. So can any type of investing or whatever is out there. It can be used incorrectly. And so many times it was used incorrectly, and seniors were taken advantage of and ripped off, and then we got a bad name. By association. And there's bad products out there that actually take over ownership of the house. And that is dangerous when you are letting somebody else into the ownership of your house, because that owner might say, you've lived long enough, let's kick you out. That's not what we do at Movement Mortgage. These are actual safe FHA reverse mortgages that we take no ownership in the house at all. You never sign over the deed or anything like that. That's where a lot of the problems come from. But yes, as you mentioned, it even goes deeper. It is a cultural thing. My dad took me to mortgage burning parties back in the 60s. And we are told that the best thing you can do is pay off your house. That was true before 1988, when Ronald Reagan came out with the reverse mortgage scenario, which was safe. And so it was a better idea to have your house paid off because there wasn't a good alternative. After 1988, the rules changed. And a lot of people have just simply not got the memo and realized that, okay, now based on this new information, it makes sense for me to use some of the equity in my home, and I can do it safely, and I can look at it as any other asset, and it does not have to be illiquid. That's the key, Dinesh, is illiquidity in retirement is a dangerous thing. Because if your house is worth $500,000 or $200,000 or $1 million and you can't use it, what good does it do when you want to take care of health issues, or you want to go on a Viking River cruise, or you want to help your kids or your grandkids? It's all, it's all locked up. And if you can't use it, what good is that wealth?
I mean, this is, I think, a key point, which is that you can look at wealth in two forms, right? There is wealth that is liquid or illiquid. And what you mean by illiquid, I just want to spell it out, is that it's all tied into the physical property called your house, right? You can't move it. Of course, you can sell it, but you can't sell it in pieces, right? You have to either sell the house or don't sell the house. Yes. But, unlike, for example, with other assets, if I've got some Apple stock and I want to get rid of it, I can sell a third of it and keep 2/3 of it. But houses don't work like that. They're just one big chunk of concrete, and it's a yes or no transaction. I think what you're introducing is sort of financial flexibility for people who are very often locked into rather large capital outlays that might not make sense for them, right? And your book is a way of opening their mind to other possibilities so that they can think of, guess what? I have a better use for the money than where it's sitting now, and this is a way for me to avail myself of it.
It's so true, Dinesh. If you sat down and made a plan for retirement, and you did not consider your savings account, you did not consider your 401k, your pension, whatever it is, even if people have a lot of money or a little bit of money, they put the Social Security plan in place and say, when should I draw Social Security? How should I do this? When should my wife draw Social Security? That's all part of the plan. But so few people say, well, let's look at my housing wealth also. How should that be employed? How should that be used? Because it's not only about, when my wife and I made our plans, it's not only about Brenda and I. It's also about our 4 sons and our 7 grandchildren. And when we take a look at all of that, to not use housing wealth is foolish in our overall planning because it's a very significant part of our assets. Anybody my age, any of the baby boomers have received a lot of increase in their housing wealth, a huge amount. There's $14 trillion in housing wealth, the largest asset class larger than any single asset class in the history of any country in the world. Shouldn't that be managed? Shouldn't that be considered as part of our baby boomers plan as to how to get through the next 10, 20, 30 years? That's what we're trying to get the news out about, because it is crucial for a better retirement and, quite frankly, better inheritance for the next generation.
Guys, check it out. The book is Home Equity and Reverse Mortgages, the Cinderella of the Baby Boomer Retirement. And guess what? You can get it free. So go to movement.com/Dinesh, movement.com/Dinesh. You'll get the book, educate yourself on this topic, talk to the guys at Movement Mortgage, and consider what might have seemed until now to be a somewhat exotic notion for you, the concept of a reverse mortgage. I've been speaking to Harlan Accola. Harlan, thank you very much for joining me.
Thanks for the opportunity, Dinesh.